Hello, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I would like to show you my latest diorama. This is my second diorama out of my mini art series. It was inspired by Dreadnought, released back in 2010 for a Blood Angels army. Recently, I found this front chest bit from the Furioso death company Dreadnought, and I decided to do something with it. I was missing a few bits, so I had to order them on the internet. After all the parts were delivered, I was able to start my build. The two primary conversion parts came from the venerable Dreadnought kit. It was a chest plate and a head cover. Other small bits were randomly salvaged from other Blood Angels kits. Because I decided to change the head on the Dreadnought, I had to get rid of the old one first. I have started by drilling a small hole using my hand drill and a medium-sized drill. Then I switched drills and used the larger one to expand the hole and ensure that I would be able to fit my LED light inside. When I fit all parts together, I realized that they don't fit perfectly, and I left with a small gap between a head cover and chest piece. But I had a plan for how to fix it. At this stage of the build, it was time to prepare a headpiece for the LED effect. First, I cut a small piece of thin, clear PVC plastic sheet to cover the visor of the head cover. I had to use something to diffuse the light, otherwise I would end up with a very bright and focused effect. The best for that, in my opinion, is good old grease-proof baking paper. I cut another small piece of baking paper and stuck it to the plastic sheet using a Mod Podge. At the end, I painted them all using red glass paint. To fix the gap between the head cover and chest plate, I've used a plasticard. I cut a small rectangle and stuck it to the chest piece using super glue. After that, I fixed the head cover using plastic glue. At this point, I noticed that this piece needs more blending. I have also quickly checked the LED effect before I move to the next step. I found this seat part from a small DIY electric car, and I thought that it would be perfect for the base that my dreadnought will be placed on. The seat was too long, so I had to cut it. I also found that hand cream cover, which was ideal for elevating the table with the dreadnought. I thought it was a good time to start blending the head cover. I started by cutting out small plasticard pieces that were sticking out on each side. After that, I used green stuff to blend all the rough edges. I found this nice MDF floor piece on eBay, and I thought it would be great for my build. It turned out that it was not only nice looking, but it was also the perfect fit for my acrylic cube. I base coated it using black paint. After that, I painted it silver using Citadel lead belcher. I was thinking about what kind of background would be best for this build, and the first thing that came to my mind was a metal plate. To create a metal plate, I used a piece of plasticard and some thin white cardboard. At this point, I thought that my metal plate was very flat and was missing one very important detail. I had to add some rivets. I made my rivets out of green stuff. The full process of how I created them will be available on my channel shortly. After I fitted all the rivets, I was still missing something, so I decided to personalize this metal wall by adding a Blood Angel symbol to it. This part is a part of the Storm Raven gunship model. Now I had to seal the light bleed from the other side of my LED. To do that, I have used UV resin. I have found this material very useful in my recent projects, and I would recommend giving it a try. After the resin was cured, I painted it black. I repeated this process a few times, and I also added a bit of black 2.0, but that was overkill. I added an extra light to my project. It was a 2mm white flashing LED. I painted it red using the same glass paint as before. Then, off camera, I drilled a hole in the base of the Dreadnought sarcophagus to fit the wiring. It was time to assemble everything. I used plastic glue to attach all of the plastic bits together, then soldered all of the wires. As my last piece, I created a Blood Angel's blood chalice. This will be a key element in my lore segment at the end of this video. To create it, I used an objective marker from the Space Hulk board game. I also used this Dreadnought Power Fist as a small table for my blood chalice. Time for painting. I started by base coating all of the elements using Chaos Black spray. Then I moved to paint all the white details on the model using Arctic White from the Vallejo game color range. Then I moved to the bone color and I used Citadel Screaming Skull. I used Apothecary White as a wash for the wings. Then I moved to all metal elements and I painted them using Lead Belcher. My favorite part was painting reds on this model. I have started with the Evil Sun's Scarlet. Then I decided to paint a grey trim on the black armor. I haven't got a Dark Reaper, so I used a Skavenblight dinge instead. I was quite happy with how it turned out. As I said before, I'm not a golden demon painter, and I always use the best and most efficient technique for the task. But I really enjoy painting miniatures, and I'm always keen to learn new techniques. I highlighted red using Wild Raider Red. I use Citadel Nuln oil wash on all metal parts of the model. The small halo design on the front armor piece is painted in Auric Armor Gold. This tiny piece is not any different from everything else, and it will receive its own wash bath and highlight later on. I had one more light to create, and this time I chose to paint it instead of placing a LED. I used 3 different shades of blue. However, I had to add a bit of Arctic White to Lothern Blue, as it turned out to be almost the same as Temple Guard Blue. The best way to achieve this effect is to choose 3 different colors from the same color family. Dreadnought body was finished, time to move to Blood Chalice. I chose the slap chop technique and the Army Painter Speed Paint Golden Armor for this job. It was a good idea. This combination allowed me to achieve a really nice effect quickly and easily. I haven't forgotten about a wash bath and a dry brush to finish it off. I had to fill a blood chalice with the blood. To do this, I used UV resin once more. After it's fully cured, I finish it off with a layer of technical paint blood for the blood god. Time for the back wall. I have painted this using lead belcher. Then I gave it a proper bath in the Nuln oil wash. I also added some Agrax earthshade to make it look more dirty, maybe a bit rusted. Later on, I used exactly the same process for the floor piece. This is how I painted this big bloodstone. I used almost the same process that I used to paint the light, with one exception. I used black as my foundation color before applying the required red colors. You probably already noticed that I'm using a Mechrite red. This paint is at least 11 years old and is not available anymore, but you can easily swap it with corn red. It's time for the final assembly. I drilled a small hole in the back wall, and then I placed the floor at the bottom of the acrylic cube. After that, I was able to drill a hole in the cube as well. Now I can place the wires and start gluing everything together. UV resin was definitely my best friend in this build. I have used it again to attach the back wall to the acrylic cube, and I will use it one more time in this video. After the back wall was fitted, I did all the wiring and glued the dreadnought and blood chalice in their place. I used my hot wire cutter to cut out a square frame from XPS foam, and then I dry fitted a battery holder to make sure that it had enough room. Then I used cocktail sticks to make 2 holes for wires. Later, I used black craft paint mixed with Mod Podge to paint the frame. I began to fit the magnets after I had set the battery holder and battery in the correct places. Magnets play an important role in my project. Without them, I wouldn't be able to swap batteries, and switching it on and off would be difficult. I had a few more things to do. First, I had to fix the frame with the battery holder to the acrylic cube. The wires were then soldered together and secured with UV resin. The final stage was attaching the diorama's title. I added an extra layer of Mod Podge to secure it. For all of those who don't know what the Death Company Dreadnought is, I have a small description. A Death Company Dreadnought is a variant of the standard Imperial Dreadnought combat walker used by the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. Death Company Dreadnoughts differ from standard Imperial Dreadnoughts in that their occupants are Astartes that are suffering from the Blood Angel's genetic flaw known as their Black Rage. The Black Rage is a genetic flaw that creates mental instability as a result of the psychic imprint left within the Blood Angel's Legion's gene seed by their Primarch's sanguineous death. When a Space Marine is overcome by the Black Rage, he is reborn into a world of constant anger, hatred, and blind fury that cannot be contained and will lead to the slaughter of any who get in the enraged Astartes' way, whether they be friend or foe. Now it's time to tell you a story about my Dreadnought. This particular Death Company Dreadnought was too precious to his chapter to be abandoned on the battlefield, ramping up his anger and rage. He was instead disarmed and placed in an individual cell on one of the Blood Angel's ships. Brother Simeo, one of the sanguinary priests on the ship, learned that the close proximity of the blood chalice might calm his fury. As a result, the only way to speak with this Dreadnought from now on is by using a specific awakening protocol. His wisdom can now be used by his brothers whenever they need it, thanks to this rite. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to my channel. That will help me deliver more content like this to you in the future. See you next time.